Hey, everybody, welcome to a post-game World Series edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. And another good ball game. Nothing like last night, of course, but let's give the Toronto Blue Jays a whole bunch of credit as they fight back and really win a must game tonight by a final score of 6-2 at Dodger Stadium. So game 4 of the World Series goes to the Blue Jays, and it ties up the World Series at 2 games apiece. So we're going to talk about tonight's game, dig into it a little bit. We'll also talk about last night's game, which was crazy. We'll talk kind of what's going on in the World Series. I'm a TV guy. I'm going to ask you about some of the things you're seeing on TV. Do you like the telecast? Do you like the announcers in the World Series? And then we'll finish it up by looking at some of the managerial hirings and still the openings that are out there, kind of with the thought in mind of the big press conference coming up on Thursday where the Giants introduce Tony Vitello as their new manager. So anyways, as always, I want your comments, but especially tonight, I want to find out what you guys are thinking about this World Series so far, about the game last night, which is an all-time classic World Series game. So I want to kick it around a little bit back and forth with you guys in the comments, as always, but maybe even a little more tonight as we're going to dive in and concentrate on what we've seen in the first 4 games of the World Series and what's coming up, because we know we're going to have a game 5 and we know we're going to have a game 6. And as always, hit the subscribe button. I hope you're enjoying what we're throwing out there on my YouTube channel. Hit the likes button and keep looking at the channel. We're throwing out videos big time. A lot of different things. There's some shorts out there, some videos out there, and of course our live shows like we're doing tonight. So lots of good stuff. Check it out when you get a chance. All right, let's get to the ball game tonight. So again, final score 6-2. Toronto wins it, 6 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Blue Jays, and for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Shane Bieber outduels Shohei Ohtani, and it's exactly what the Blue Jays needed. Bieber pitched into the 6th inning. He was very good. Ohtani was good as well, but he left with a couple of his runners on. Both those runners scored, so he pitched better than his line, which shows 4 earned runs in 6+ innings. But a must-win by the Toronto Blue Jays, and I kept score like I do. See, keep score. That's the way I did it when I was announcing the games. And so let's kind of run through it here. Dodgers jump out ahead, and we're going to talk about last night's game at length. But boy, you felt a little strange, like, oh boy, oh man, Dodgers are going to go up 3-1, and it's just because they're so darn good. But in this game, the first hitter of the game, Kike Hernandez, makes a great play in foul territory. And then the Dodgers jump out ahead 1-0. You got Ohtani on the mound. I mean, he looks great. But the Vladimir Guerrero home run, a little hanging breaking ball from Ohtani, and Guerrero, really that one guy in this lineup, obviously, that you just say, don't let this guy beat you. But Ohtani did hang a breaking ball. Guerrero hit it out. It's his 7th home run of the postseason, and that gave the Blue Jays the 2-1 lead, and they never relinquished the lead. And then as the game goes on, Ohtani settles in. He struck out the side in the 4th. So he was very good. Had a 3-up, 3-down inning in the 2nd, had a 3-up, 3-down inning in the 6th. So maybe it's just me, but you just sort of had that feeling like, boy, if the Dodgers just keep it at 2-1, you've seen it so many times in the late innings where they take a game over, come back and win. And in this game, it kind of had that feel. At least it did for me. But I thought a key moment in this game was in the bottom of the 6th inning. It's 2-1 still. Blue Jays are winning, and Bieber gives up a couple of hits, and he comes out. So in comes Mason Fluharty, who came in, scores 2-1, 2 on and 1 out. And he's a left-hander, and he gets Muncy and he gets Edman. And I thought that was a huge moment in the game, because this is the spot I'm talking about where you start thinking, oh, man, here come the Dodgers. Here they got a shot. But Fluharty, who did not pitch good last night, comes in. He gets those 2 huge outs. Those may have been the biggest 2 outs in the game, because remember, again, at that point, the score was 2-1. But he gets out of it, ends the inning, and then in the top of the seventh, that's when the Blue Jays explode. They get the 4 runs, they get 5 hits, some really good at-bats. And the difference there was the Dodgers bullpen, which, as we know, at times during the regular season and even at times in this postseason has been a little shaky. Last night, it was incredible. The bullpen, Freddie Freeman won the game. So did the bullpen for the Dodgers. Both bullpens were terrific. But in the end, it was the Dodgers bullpen that got the win. But tonight, they just didn't have it. Banda came in, gave up a couple of hits, and then Blake Trinan gave up a couple more hits. And when it was all said and done, the Blue Jays had scored 4 runs, and that somewhat busted it open and gave them a 6-1 lead. So Banda got knocked around, and Blake Trinan, who he's hard to figure out. His stuff is so good, but he has not pitched well in the postseason. He was a little shaky during the regular season. I always think I saw Blake Trinan when he was with the A's, when he was nasty. I mean, he was at his best. He was an all-star with the A's, just filthy stuff. And he was with them for a couple years when I was there. And man, this guy was phenomenal for the A's. And he's still a very good reliever, but it has not been a great year for Trinan. And, tonight when he came in, he gave up a hit to Bichette, he gave up a hit to Barger, and that led to the 5th and 6th runs of the game. So at that point, Blue Jays are feeling pretty good. They got a 6-1 lead. You feel like you never have enough against the Dodgers. But Chris Bassett came in, one of my favorite people, and he had a nice clean 6th or 7th inning, got a double play to end the 8th inning. So 2 critical innings from Chris Bassett. And remember, think back to last night and all the pitchers that were used. Everybody was used last night. So if you can get a guy who can come in late in the game the next night and give you a couple innings, and Bassett he threw less than 10 pitches last night. So he comes in, he gets the 7th inning, he gets the 8th inning, does a nice job. Dodgers get a run in the 9th inning, but Varland gets out of it, and when it's all said and done, it's a 6-2 final. So, I really got to give the Blue Jays a lot of credit. I just did not feel good for them coming into this game. Part of it was from what happened last night. I can't lie. But if just think about this. They lose Springer. Springer's sort of their engine, right? We've seen him for a long time. Terrific player, but he's kind of their engine. So he's out. Obviously, both teams' bullpens are wiped out. But if you're the Blue, you got to face Ohtani. And Ohtani can shut you down, okay? So you have a heartbreaking loss. You're at Dodger Stadium. You're without your heartbeat player in George Springer. You're facing Shohei Ohtani, and that's nothing against Shane Bieber. We can't overlook Shane Bieber because he outpitched Ohtani. But the point is there was a lot of things going against the Blue Jays in this game. You know what? But they fought it. They played a good, clean game. The pitching was very good. They got the big hits. They had the one big inning. So tons of credit go out to the Blue Jays tonight as they even up this series at 2 games apiece. And how great is that? I mean, just phenomenal stuff from a feisty Blue Jays team. And I think they struck out. How many times did they strike out tonight? 8, which for them is a little more than normal. But again, that 7th inning when they scored the 4 runs, you saw what they're all about. Put the ball in play. Jimenez against the tough lefty, he flipped one into left field, made contact. He got a base hit. Ty France went into pinch hit. He hasn't played much at all, but he's able to get a ground ball with the guy on third, gets another run in. And then you get your bigger hitters up, Bichette and Barger, and they come through. So that was sort of that inning was what the Blue Jays are all about. So good stuff tonight from the Blue Jays as they win it again. Final score of 6-2. So what that does is that sets up a game 5 tomorrow night at Dodger Stadium, same time. First pitch, it'll be Snell and Yusevich, Trey Yusevich, the youngster, against Blake Snell, who doesn't get knocked around very often, but he did in game 1 of the World Series. But that's the matchup in game 5. Again, that's tomorrow night, and we will have another show, the Glen Kuiper Show, immediately after tomorrow night's game as well, right after Final Out. So finish watching the game, come on over to the YouTube channel, and we'll dissect Game 5, whatever it may bring. Who knows? But that's your pitching matchup tomorrow night. And then there will be a Game 6 back in Toronto. That will be Friday, so Thursday's an off day. And then Game 6 would be Friday, Yamamoto and Gosman. And then if there is a Game 7, wouldn't that be awesome? A World Series Game 7, that would be Saturday. And it looks like Glasnow would be lined up to pitch that for the Dodgers. Scherzer lined up to pitch that for Toronto. But again, who knows at that point? It could be a couple guys. Ohtani may be able to pitch again. So we don't know the actual for sure pitching matchups if it were to get to Saturday's Game 7. But that's just looking ahead a little bit. But most important is tomorrow's Game 5. Snell, Yasevich, and whoever wins that obviously grabs the lead in the series going back to Toronto. And I think for the Blue Jays, they know that they're going to go back home. They're going to get another home game and maybe a Game 7 home game. And quite frankly, I think that's a pretty big deal. So that's enough about tonight's game. I want to get your thoughts about what you thought going into the game. I didn't have a lot of confidence that the Blue Jays could do this, and that's why I got a lot of admiration for them tonight and the way they played, because they're banged up, playing a little short, but it didn't matter tonight. So let's get to the comments and see what guys are thinking about the game tonight. Hold on a minute. Now, let's start with Elephant 2024. What a difference 20 hours can make. Only 20 hours? Terrific bounce-back victory for the Blue Jays this evening following the devastating defeat in the marathon that was Game 3. The World Series is a best of 3. That's about as good as it gets. And again, after we check in with the comments, we're going to dissect last night's game, because it was I think it's worth going back over, even though it was played last night, because it was a World Series classic. I think you guys understand that one. Let's see. Anything else? Anybody checking in? Bake that dough as always. So far, Vlad Jr. is living up to his big contract extension. He's fun to watch both offensively and defensively. Yeah, he was really good last night. He's really turned himself into a very good first baseman defensively, which is fun. And we know what he can do. He showed it tonight with a bat. Gary says, at a minimum, we will have a 6-game series and a return trip to Canada. Toronto, the second T is silent. Toronto. Okay. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate that. If I was saying it wrong, I don't want the good people of Canada to be mad at me. Toronto. Does that sound right? Toronto. All right. The T is silent. All right. I'm always learning. You think I would know that since I traveled there to call games for 22 years. But thanks, Gary. I appreciate that. All right. So before we get to our Game 3 breakdown, which I think is going to be a lot of fun, let's check in with our sponsors for tonight, starting with the good folks at Tilden Properties. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multi-family real estate. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based, family-owned, Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Give them a call at 925-209-8558. We're also brought to you by the Carrick Real Estate Team. Since 1978, they have been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service. Contact Mike Carrick today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. You can give Mike a call at 925-548-4132 or go to their website at carrickteam.com. And we're also brought to you by Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged on your property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. Thanks always to our terrific sponsors. And that gets us to last night. It was a marathon, right? But a World Series classic. And did everybody make it for the full 18 innings? I did. I don't know. that's something to be proud of. But I felt like I had got into it. Well, we were supposed to do a show last night, and we apologize if you guys stuck around till 11:15 expecting the show. But myself and my producer Ryan made the executive decision to call off the show. So if anybody was out there waiting, I apologize, but I don't know that anybody was. But I felt like I had invested about 12 innings of my life on this game. And then you go, well, I got to find out what happens. Right? I mean, and then it's 14. And then I crawled in bed and I said, well, I'm just going to watch the end of this game before I go to sleep. So I did. I made it through the full 18 innings. And I have to tell you, just as a baseball fan like you guys all are, when the game went to extra innings, at no point did I think the Dodgers were going to lose the game. I'm just being honest. As I'm sitting there watching the game, and now I'm a fan, right? I'm just this is awesome, tremendous game. I can say I saw Game 3 of the World Series in 2025, but I'm also sitting there thinking, I'm looking at the two lineups now. The lineups, you know, in extra innings, which were quite a bit different for the Blue Jays than what they started with. And then I'm looking at the Dodgers lineup. And I swear, I'm thinking every time a Dodger guy steps in the box in extra innings, am I the only one who's thinking he's going to hit a home run? He's going to hit a home run. Every guy that comes up, you think they're going to hit a home run. I didn't have that feeling with the Blue Jays. And that's nothing against the Blue Jays. They're a very good team. But I'm just talking about last night. I just continued to feel like, man, the Blue Jays, they're just not, the Dodgers are going to do something big and win this game. And part of it is it's extra innings and the Dodgers are at home, last at bat. You know, they have all their stars in the lineup. And as it turned out, that is what happened. Freddie Freeman hit the home run, of course, in the 18th inning. But I did survive. I did watch the whole game, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was entertaining. The Dodgers won it. But what did you guys think about the game? Did you watch it all? Did you hang in there for it? It's hard to really complain about the quality of baseball. You saw Shohei Ohtani reach base 9 times, which is unbelievable. Just saying that's crazy, right? But you saw 2 bullpens just go toe-to-toe and pitch great. That was a lot of fun. But in the end, it was a 6-5 final in 18 innings. So the game took 6 hours and 39 minutes. That's the second longest World Series. That's the second longest World Series game in history. And you don't have to go back that far. 2018, it was Game 3 against the Dodgers and the Red Sox, and that game went 7 hours and 20 minutes. And if you remember, Max Muncy hit a home run for the Dodgers to walk that game off. 7 hours and 20 minutes. Last night was 6:39, and there's so many different numbers from last night's game that you could throw out there. But, the couple things, the Dodgers used 10 pitchers. The Blue Jays used 9. And how about this? Number of pitches thrown in the game, 609. 609 pitches were thrown in the game. Home plate umpire Mark Wegner, he wasn't perfect. There was some questionable calls, obviously very early in that game with the weird play with Bichette, thinking it was ball 4. That was a very bad call. But you also have to say, listen, 6.5 hours, 18 innings, 609 pitches thrown. You're not going to be perfect, but he had a few misses, but you got to give him credit. I thought he actually did a pretty good job hanging in there. That's about as tough as you're going to get for a home plate umpire. As always, it seems like in games like this, chances all over the board. The Dodgers were 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. The Blue Jays were 2 for 12. This was a good one. 6 outs were made on the bases. And think about some of the plays that were made. Guerrero made a great play, got a guy at third. Dodgers made a couple of relay throws, phenomenal. There was a runner being sent, and he was out by a lot, but it would have given the Blue Jays the lead. That was a controversy. Should Fabulous, the third base coach, should he have sent him? So many things going on, but I thought the thing that jumped out to me though I did not fault John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, because he put pitch runners in and he used his whole bench. So he had extra players in the lineup as extra innings went on and on. Now, listen, when he saw an opportunity to get a pinch runner in there, he used it. And I understand what he's thinking. He's thinking, any chance I have to win this game as soon as we can, I have to try to do it. If that means a pinch runner in the 10th, 11th inning, I think he was feeling like, listen, we're on the road against this great team. The longer this game goes on, the less chance we have to win. And my point here is, I think that's why he used up his whole bench with some pinch runners, and Straw came in, and so he had to get somebody in there for Springer. That really hurt, losing Springer. But my point is, so then as the game gets to the 12th and the 13th, now your Blue Jays lineup is nothing like it was at the beginning of the game. In fact, this as the game went on late, and now I'm talking about, let's say starting in the I'm just looking here. Let's say starting in the 12th inning, okay? This was what the Blue Jays lineup was from the 12th inning to the 18th inning. Schneider, Lucas, Guerrero, Kiner-Falefa, Varsho, Heineman, Straw, Clement, Jimenez. So my point there is, Springer was out because of the injury. That hurt. Kiner-Falefa was in there for Bichette. He pinch ran in the 7th inning. Tyler Heineman was in there for Kirk. He pinch ran in the 12th inning. Miles Straw was in there for Barger. And Straw's not a great hitter. Barger can hit, but that was as a pinch runner. So he used Ty France came in for Springer after the injury. But you see, there was 4 pinch runners used. One in the 10th inning, one in the 7th inning, one in the 12th inning, one in the 8th inning. So you see my point. Schneider's saying, listen, if a guy's on first, we need some more speed, ball hitting the gap. And that's what almost happened when Schneider got thrown out at the plate in the 10th inning. So he's trying to win this game as quickly as possible. But by doing that, Bichette came out of the game, Kirk came out of the game, and Barger came out of the game all before the 12th inning. Well, think about those hitters, Bichette, Kirk, and Barger. Those are 3 pretty good hitters. But I do get the strategy, and I do get what John Schneider, the manager, was trying to do. In the same breath, the Dodgers, they had their same guys in there. I don't even know if did they even pinch run? Yeah, Rojas hit in the 13th, and Call hit in the 13th as well. They didn't pitch run. But it's still, for 18 innings, you had Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Hernandez, and Edman. I mean, so that stuck out to me a little bit, but I was okay with what Schneider was trying to do. Because it's just hard, man. Once you're the road team and the game keeps going on and on and on against a team like the Dodgers, you just have that feeling like, wow, we have to end this game as quick as possible. And they just could not do it. And as I said, I just didn't think, I just never felt like once it got to extra innings that the Dodgers were going to lose. It just never, it just didn't enter my mind. And I felt like, and I was wrong on this one, because of what the Blue Jays did tonight. But I felt like that was the game that Toronto had to win. Because, tonight you're facing Ohtani and, you're fighting and your bullpen's going to be blasted. And my feeling really was if the Dodgers win that game last night, that's going to be the one that wins the World Series for them. I felt that strongly about that game last night. And it turns out I was wrong. And I'm glad for the Blue Jays that I was wrong, that they showed that much character to come back tonight and play great and win the game. But I was very concerned, and I just felt like the Dodgers had to be saying, man, we just pinned a devastating loss on the Blue Jays. And now we're up 2-1. And now we got Ohtani going tomorrow, and we got a shot to end this thing at home. That's where my big concern was, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it. So let's get your thoughts. Anybody checking in on what they did with last night's game? Did they watch? Did they hang tough? Let's see. All right. My guys are always coming through here. Oh, here's a good one. Bake That Dough says, without the Manfred runner in extra innings, it seems there's little intention of even trying to start a rally. It's all swinging for the fences, hence 18 innings. I think that's a good point. I'm glad they don't have the Manfred man in the postseason, and that was never going to happen. And I know the announcers talked a lot about this, and it is a thing, Bake That Dough, it's human nature when you get into the 12th inning and the 13th inning and the 14th inning. I think it's just human nature. You get that feeling like with one swing of the bat, I can give my team the lead. Or with one swing of the bat, I could send everybody home happy. And I think that creeps in a little bit, and maybe you try to do too much. I think that happens often in these, not so much in the regular season because of the new the new rules with the runner at second, whatever. But I do think that is almost human nature, where you feel like I'm gonna win this thing by my own. And John Smoltz talked a lot about it. You saw a lot of pop-ups, a lot of shallow fly balls. Guys are trying to lift. So yeah, I think that is a thing. Because you can't help it. You just can't help but think, man, if I just connect on one, I'm going to be a hero. And as it turns out, that's probably not the best route to take if you're trying to hit a ball out of the ballpark. But yeah, I think that's an excellent point. All right, hold on. Let's see. Gary says the three most exciting games in this postseason have all been extra inning ones. LA, Philly, yeah, game 4. Detroit, Seattle, game 5. Yeah, that was about as good as it gets as well. And then last night, the longest and best one. So great postseason baseball this year with some memorable games. I mean, yeah, this game almost makes you forget about the Tigers Seattle game 5, which was just phenomenal, right? But good stuff. It's what makes postseason baseball so great. Bake That Dough says with a super chat, Glenn, what was the longest game you were a part of? I do have it, and I don't have the date. It was maybe 2012, maybe 2013. The A's and the Angels went 19 innings at the Coliseum. And I should look this up. I should have thought about that because I could have found the exact date. But it was 19 innings at the Coliseum. I think it was a 7:00 start. And if I remember correctly, it was, and I'm going to look this up for the show tomorrow, but I think it was over 6 hours, because I want to say we left the ballpark at like 1:30 or something like that. I'll look it up, but I know it was the A's and the Angels at the Coliseum. It was either 2012 or 13 or 14. And Brandon Moss, remember Brandon Moss, powerful left-handed hitter. He hit a home run to win the game, to a walk-off home run. But I also remember that earlier in the game, in extra innings, like maybe the 12th inning, and it may have happened twice, but the Angels scored a run at the top, and then the A's tied it in the bottom, sent the game further into extra innings. And I know that happened once, and it may have happened twice. but I'm about 90% sure it was 19 innings. But I will look that up, bake that dough, and I'll have it for you tomorrow, and I'll give you some see if I can find some goodies on that. But yeah, so I got 19. I got a 19 inning gamer under my belt. So Gary says the base running was surprisingly aggressive in game 3 as well. A number of runners were thrown out at both third and home. Yeah, it was. And I don't know. The play where the guy Schneider got thrown out at the plate, ball down in the right field corner, trying to take the lead. He was out by quite a bit. Perfect relay throw, and I know there was people like he can't. And I didn't have a problem with it because again, you have a shot to win the game. Now he was out by quite a bit, but one of the reasons he was out by quite a bit was because you're asking the Dodgers to make 2 perfect throws. And Hernandez made a perfect throw, got a nice bounce off the wall, made a perfect throw to Edman. And then this is a thing now. If you make a perfect throw to the middle cutoff, to the cutoff man, right, where if he catches it in the air, then he's able to start his momentum towards the base he's throwing to, even before he catches it. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Often you see a ball thrown to the cutoff man that's in the dirt, and he's got to really concentrate on catching it, and then he has no momentum throwing to the base that the runner that he's going to throw to. But that time it was perfect. He was able to, before he even caught it, he was starting to move to home plate. That's a big deal. That was a big deal. And I hope you see a replay and you watch that and you'll understand what I'm saying. And that allowed Edman to have good momentum, and he made a perfect throw to Smith, who put the tag, got him by a lot. And but if you think about the aggressiveness, that same type of play happened earlier in the game with Vladimir Guerrero. Remember, Guerrero scored. Let's see, when did Guerrero score? Yeah, he scored in the 7th inning. Remember the play at the plate? It was close, and he popped his hand in the bag. But that was an aggressive send as well. But he forced the Dodgers to, again, try to make 2 perfect throws. And that relay throw, I don't know if it was a relay throw. It may have been from the outfielder. But the point is that throw was offline, and the catcher Smith had to go get it and then try to get back. So in each case, they forced the Dodgers to make good throws. One time they did, they got the runner. The other time they didn't, and they scored. And in the case where they got him, I think it was extra innings, and they just felt like, hey, the Blue Jays have to be feeling like we got to be aggressive, make them make 2 perfect throws. And, if that throw to Smith, it could be in the dirt, it could be up either line, and it could allow the guy to score. So there's a lot of variables there, but give the Dodgers credit. They made 2 perfect, and I mean perfect relay throws, and the execution was there, and they got the would have been a lead runner in extra innings. But I'm okay with that. I really am. I think, it's after the fact, you're saying, well, he got thrown out by a bunch. And it's like, well, yeah, but earlier in the game, Guerrero did the same thing, and they forced a bad throw, and he was safe, and he got your run. So there's a couple different ways to look at that. But excellent point, Gary. And I think there's a lot to be these are these little things that you dissect in games like this, especially World Series games. Bake That Dough says that relay reminded me of when the Giants host Prince Fielder at home in the 2012 World Series. Yeah, that was a relay. That was a relay, right? I think it was Blanco to Crawford to Posey, and a very close play at the plate. And I don't remember who the umpire was, but it looked like Prince Fielder was safe. Just the speed of the play, you're like, oh, I think he's safe. But he called him out, and then they showed the replay, and he was out. Buster made a good tag, and it was that type of situation. Force the defense to make 2 perfect throws. And if they can do that, then sometimes you just got to tip your cap. You really do. If not for the effort of Will Klein, the Dodgers would have been forced to use Yamamoto. They had no one else at that point, and Yamamoto was, he was up. He was throwing. And it's interesting. Dave Roberts said something today. If Yamamoto wasn't going to pitch, but he was warming up, or maybe if he was he could only pitch one inning or something, like they said they were ready to bring in Luis Rojas, who's the second baseman, which I thought was very interesting. I mean, you may have had to, because I don't think you would have wanted to leave Yamamoto out there for any more than one inning, because he had just he pitched game 2. So it would have just been a couple days rest. So my guess is Yamamoto was warming up to pitch one inning. And then if the game would have went past that, you may have seen a Dodger position player. Would that have not been crazy? Crazy stuff. But all right, good comments as always, and good stuff about what. Listen, we saw it. Terrific baseball. And I think it's good to dissect these games, because you just don't see that many terrific World Series games, and when you do have one with so much on the line, hey, it's worth talking about. So I appreciate that. So anyways, so this series is all tied up at hold on a minute, I'm gonna get this going. I just got to clear some stuff here. Yeah, so series is tied up. We'll look forward to game 5 tomorrow, and remember, we'll have a show right after the final out of game 5. See what happens. Somebody's going to have a 3-2 lead. So make sure you join us again for the Glen Kuiper show tomorrow. Couple World Series things that have really nothing to do with what's happening on the field. But, if you guys wouldn't mind hearing your comments about, I'm a TV guy, so I watch the game. I did TV for 22 years, play-by-play. So I kind of watch the game, and I like to listen to see how the announcers are and see how the cameras are and how the guys are producing and directing the game. And these guys are great. I mean, I think they've done a great job. 2 broadcasters, Joe Davis, who's one of the, he's probably the best out there right now. Young guy, but great. John Smoltz is terrific. So, we've listened to him a lot lately, right? I mean, last night, 18 innings. And I find the 2 guys to be, they're good. They're very talented. Smoltz, he really breaks the game down well. And he knows it. You can tell he knows it. He gives it to you. He gives it to you in pretty simple terms that you can understand, which is all you want. I don't have to think, but he points things out clearly and makes you understand why this happened. And that's what a color commentator's job is. Don't tell me what happened. That's the play-by-play's job, play-by-play man's job. Tell me why it happened, or tell me what may happen. Okay. That's a color commentator's job. Why did this happen? Not what happened. Play-by-play says what happened. Color says why it happened. That's a very simple definition breakdown of the broadcast booth. They're fairly serious. I don't know that there's a huge amount of entertainment there. Not that I need entertainment, but they're fairly serious. And it is the World Series, and I'm not saying you got to be a comedy show. That's not what I mean. But there's not a lot of the entertainment value is not super high, but the baseball content is very, very good. That's the way I would look at it. I found what was interesting in watching these games, and I guess I didn't realize it, but I don't know if Fox did this during the regular season, but they do not show the strike zone box, which you watch Giants games, you watch a lot of baseball. Most places have the strike zone box, so you get kind of used to it. They put it in when it's a replay of the pitch, which I think is an interesting concept. Curious to see if you guys like that or not. We're so used to having that box there now when we watch a game, so we know right away, oh, that pitch was an inch outside. But we don't know that until they show the replay. And then when they show the replay, the box is in, which I thought was interesting. I don't know. I think I'd still rather have the box in there I don't find it distracting. It's just part of most every team's telecasts now. But Fox, it looks like they do it a little bit different. Is there too much Ohtani talk? I think that's a fair question. My answer would be no, only because I think you guys know how. And I don't care if he's on the Dodgers or not. That's not what this is about. We are watching something that we've never, ever seen before. It's the greatest show in the history of baseball. Okay. So I do kind of want to learn some things about this guy that maybe I don't already know. And listen, I mean, just think about this. In game 3, he reached base 9 times in one game. The very next night, he's the starting pitcher in game 4 of the World Series. Okay. That is mind-boggling. Okay. So are you sick of hearing about Ohtani? Are you sick of the announcers telling stories about Ohtani? I would say that I'm not. Just because he's such an interesting, intriguing, dynamic player. As I've said 1,000 times, we've never seen anything like this before. So I kind of like to maybe learn some more stuff about him. So I think they've been fine. It's the big story from a player standpoint. But I'm okay with that. I really am. Hey, should want to learn as much as you can about guys, and if the announcers are doing a good job, and Davis and Smoltz have done a real nice job bringing some new stuff to light about Ohtani, which that's good. All right, let's see. Let's check in with some of our guys again. Gary says Joe Davis does call it down the middle, which is noteworthy because he is the Dodgers' lead broadcaster. Yes, he is. And Smoltz has been the best analyst on national telecast since Tim McCarver. Wow, Gary was a Tim McCarver guy. All right. And yes, Joe Davis is the lead announcer for the Dodgers for the regional stuff, but he gets it. He's not going to do anything to screw that up. But these guys, they know how to play it down the middle. They're too good and too smart, and that certainly is where Davis fits in. Smoltz is clearly a student of the game. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to. And I'm not. When I said the entertainment value is not real high, but the baseball value is very high. That wasn't a criticism. It really wasn't. It's just I'd almost like to every once in a while hear Smoltz maybe laugh a little bit, like he's having fun giving you this information, as opposed to like he's giving you the answers to a test. But he teaches you a lot, and that's a good thing. I guess I'd just like to hear him chuckle and laugh once in a while, like he's really having fun, and he's not working. He's just having a good time up there watching terrific World Series games. So anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Gary, I have to disagree just a bit. Joe Davis was getting pretty animated at times when LA would score, get a clutch hit, etc. All right. Well, I think we all hear things differently, right? We all hear things differently. But I will say this, Bake, that though it would be hard not to get excited. Listen, he gets excited when the Blue Jays score, and he gets excited when the Dodgers score. But you're doing a World Series game with that much emotion, and he's going to turn it up a notch for both teams, and I think he's done a pretty good job with that. There can never be enough said about Shohei Ohtani. Gary, I agree with you 100%. It's just what do I say? It's the greatest show in baseball history. So let's enjoy this guy. Do we want the Dodgers to win? Of course not. But it is what it is. Enjoy it. We're getting to see something super special. Glenn, what are your thoughts on interviews with the manager while game is in progress? Personally, save that for the All-Star game and spring training. Yeah, you know what? I would agree with that. I don't hate it, but I'm not a super big fan. I don't know. Is it intrusive? Well, of course it's intrusive. It's the World Series. The manager is standing in the top row of the dugout, and it's they do it early in the game, obviously. Um, I don't know. I could probably live without him. I think. Listen, I have enough experience in this whole thing that these TV executives sometimes they think they're recreating the wheel, and if somebody else does it, well then you got to do it, right? You got to do it. You got to interview the manager. Oh my gosh. If we don't, and they did, and that station did, and we didn't, and they did it in the ALCS, but not. Oh my gosh, So I can do without them. I can't. I don't sit there and go, oh my god, I can't believe they're in. No, but I can do without them. I mean, I don't think they do that much. I don't think that we're getting anything major from these managers. They're not telling us anything major. The reason they're being done is it is TV executives or TV producers are thinking this makes our show look bigger. And when it's the World Series, you want your show to look as big as possible, right? And that is a major, major part of why this is done. Trust me. So anyways, but all in all, I think it's pretty good coverage. I think Fox has done a nice job. They're not married to these crowd shots, which, a lot of times, how that goes. And you get sick of seeing, certain people in the crowd, but, or the real, I know we've had World Series before where it's constant close-ups of fans just losing like this, the close-up, the fan, and then a player, the close-up. There's a couple directors out there that's their thing. Show close-ups. And I used to get sick of that. It's like, show the game. I don't need a close-up every 20 seconds. And we haven't seen too much of that with this broadcast. So anyways, let's finish this. We'll shift gears a little bit and then we'll head on home. Managers hirings update. So there's a few things going on. Of course, this all sort of revolves around Tony Vitello with the Giants, but so far we have 4 new managers. And just yesterday, the Baltimore Orioles hired Craig Albernez as their new manager. So Albernez takes over in Baltimore. He's a 43-year-old, and he was with the Giants for a while. But he was on Stephen Vogt's staff the last 2 years. He and Vogt are tight. They're very tight. But Albernez was with the Giants from 2020 to 23, so he was with them for 4 years. He was a bullpen catching coach. So there was some talk about Albernez maybe being a guy that the Giants liked as a possible managerial hire, and I don't know if they interviewed him. They may have, but supposed to be a really sharp guy. Everybody loves him, and he takes over an Orioles job that it's not a bad job if you think about it. And remember, this team made the postseason in 2023, again in 2024, but kind of fell on their face this year. They lost 87 games, but they got all this young talent. They need some pitching. So I think Albernez takes over a pretty decent situation with the Baltimore Orioles. You got young talent in the lineup, and that's a pretty nice start. So congratulations to him. And then, of course, you got Kurt Suzuki, hired by the Angels. Good luck to Kurt, one of baseball's really good guys. Skip Shoemaker was early on grabbed by the Rangers. Remember, the Rangers World Series a couple years ago, so that's not a bad job either if you think about it. They got some talent, and they got some pitching. So see if Schumacher they were 81 and 81 this year. Bochy's done. So, again, a little bit of a younger move there. Suzuki's a younger move. Albernez is a younger move. And then, of course, Tony Vitello with the Giants. So those are the 4 managerial hires so far. And, again, coming up on Thursday, Vitello will have Giants will have the press conference introducing Tony Vitello. So that's exciting. I'm going to be there. looking forward to it. I'm really curious about seeing what Vitello's all about, maybe getting to know him a little bit, and just see how he handles everything. It's going to be quite a story, but it's also kind of exciting. So now there's 5 managerial openings left, and which one would you take? The Washington Nationals. Okay, 96 losses last year, a couple of good young players. I know Alvarez interviewed for that job before he took the Orioles job. Is the Nationals job interesting? The Padres job is open. We know their deal. Ton of talent. The general manager or the guy in charge, Preller, he's only got 1 year left on his contract. Who's he going to hire? Padres, but you also have the other stuff. You have beautiful ballpark. You have great fans. You have great atmosphere and all this talent. And it's San Diego with the weather, so that's still, no matter how many question marks you have about the front office and, how do they handle the managers? Do they treat the managers right, wrong? We've heard of many, many different stories, but still pretty good scenario to take over a Padres team. The Minnesota Twins have a job opening still. Remember, they traded away a bunch of people at the trade deadline, but they still got Byron Buxton, and they got a really good minor league system. And their minor league system has a bunch of guys that are close, high minor league system, getting ready to contribute. So that may be an attractive job. Another nice ballpark. I love that ballpark. It's one of my top 3 favorite places to broadcast a game, and I love the way the stadium is set up. Pretty good stop there. So that Twins job wouldn't be terrible. The Braves, of course, we know the Braves roster. They're ready to win again. They just somehow managed to just have a terrible year. I don't know how, with all the good players they have, but so that's an attractive job. Again, good attendance, good ballpark, big market in Atlanta. Not a bad job. So you got the Nationals, Padres, Twins, Braves, and then the Rockies. Who wants the Rockies job? 119 losses last year. Their minor league system is not great, from what I understand. So that's a tough gig there. The Rockies have been around since 1993. They've had a handful of good years, but they've also never really figured out how to win in that ballpark with that style of play where there's a lot of offense, and we all know the drill of Coors Field. That would be a tough job, tough gig. Bud Black was there for a long time, got let go at the beginning of this past year. So those are the 5 open managerial spots. Again, Nats, Padres, Twins, Braves, Rockies. Which one would you take? I don't know. Let's check in with our viewers to see what they think about the job openings. These guys are great. In addition to the new managers that there will be in 2026, there's also a new ownership group in Tampa. The new Rays owner will have to spend money to keep pace with the Yankees, Red Sox, Jays, and O's. Good point, Gary. Gary, as always, comes up with good points, but you're right. New ownership there. And it will be interesting to see what happens, because the Rays have always been that don't spend much money, but yet they keep winning. It looks like they'll get back into their dome stadium down there this year, and then get working on trying to get a new stadium. So they'll be an interesting organization to keep an eye on what they do. Do they spend more money now with the new ownership? Who knows? We'll find out. Do you think Vitello announces his coaches on Thursday? These will be crucial decisions. No, I have not heard that. Bake that dough. I am quite sure, though, that he and Buster's guy, they're working on this, because that's the most important thing right now. You got your manager, and now, and I agree with you, I think his staff is going to be huge. Not huge amount-wise. I'm saying the importance of who he hires for what situation he's coming into and where he's coming from. His staff is going to be a very, very important part of this whole thing. So I am really curious to see who he hires. I would not guess that there will be any announcements on Thursday about that. I could be wrong. I think this will be more of a day of this is going to be about Tony Vitello. He's the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. That's a big, big deal. And I think they're going to make this about him. And I'm sure that they are putting together a staff already. They may have a couple guys already locked down. Who knows? But these are not things that get pushed aside. This is the most important thing now. His staff needs to be put together and put together quickly. So they're working on this day and night, I'm sure. And again, they probably have some of them already lined up. That would be my guess. Gary says, I think the Braves' job is a much coveted one. Good farm system, returning players from injury, winning organization. Yeah, I would agree with the Braves. The Braves, they're not afraid to spend money. Yeah. You know what? I would say you can make a comment, or you can make a call that the Braves, the Padres, both really good managerial openings. And, these openings, as soon as this World Series is over, remember we talked about how Major League Baseball doesn't really like it if you make announcements on the day of a World Series game or even during the World Series. The Giants had a little time in between, a couple days in between, that they could do something between the Championship Series and the World Series. So this World Series, whenever it ends in the next 4 or 5 days, I think those managerial hirings will be taken up quickly as soon as the World Series is over, because then teams have had a chance to dig around quite a bit. So so that's what I'm looking at. But I am looking forward to the press conference coming up on Thursday. Get to hear and see Tony Vitello for the first time as the manager of the Giants. So, all right, folks, that's it for tonight's show. Good World Series show. Great comments again from the guys and gals. Last night was phenomenal. Tonight, the Blue Jays answered right back, and we got ourselves a 3-game World Series. How about that? Tomorrow night, Game 5 at Dodger Stadium, and we will have the Glen Kuiper Show immediately following the final out. So make sure you join us for that. All right, that's it, folks. Glen Kuiper Show has been brought to you by Tilden Properties. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based, family-owned Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Give them a call, 925-209-8558. We're also brought to you by the Carrig Real Estate Team. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making your first home purchase, trust the Carrig Real Estate Team to guide you home. They have been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service since 1978. That's the Carrig Real Estate Team. And by Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged on your property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. Thanks for joining me tonight, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. We continue to have fun on the Glen Kuiper Show. Hit that subscribe button. Our subscribers are moving up. We're closing in on 8,000. How about that? Or is it 7,000? I don't know. It's 8,000. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get there. So we appreciate it, folks. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow night after the final out of Game 5 of the World Series right here on the Glen Kuiper Show. Have a good night, everybody.